Cincinnati's Riverfront Stadium was the home of high hopes when the Bengals opened their 1971 season. Cincinnati was coming off the strongest season in the team's 4-year history as the Bengals had captured the AFC's Central Division title in 1970. Spurred on by 5 preseason wins, the loyal Bengal followers jammed into Riverfront Stadium anticipating a season filled with excitement and victory. The air was alive with the smell of a second championship as the Bengals fielded the strongest team in their history. And in Cincinnati, the fans, the players, and head coach Paul Brown could hardly wait for the opening of the 1971 season. But it was one of the longest years in Coach Paul Brown's long career. 1971 was a year of frustration and pain as Cincinnati was riddled by injuries. Despite a losing season, the Bengals never stopped battling and displayed the pride and spirit that have characterized their swift rise in the world of pro football. Riverfront Stadium was the scene for the Bengals' opening game against the Philadelphia Eagles, and Cincinnati opened the season in devastating style. Defensive tackle Mike Reed, number 74, led the assault on Eagle quarterbacks as he personally sacked the passer 4 times. While Reed was playing a Sunday sonata on the quarterback's head, Burge Carter, number 11, plucked the birds clean with 3 touchdown passes. One a 90-yard shot to Speedy Thomas, the longest pass play in Bengal history. While Carter shined as a passer, number 19, Essex Johnson, was equally brilliant as a runner, streaking 68 yards to a touchdown. The 37-14 romp was the Bengals' 8th straight victory over a 2-year period and gave every indication that Cincinnati would successfully defend its divisional crown.
The youthful Go-Go Bengals have stretched their stomach for winning in 13 of their last 14 games. And Cincinnati opened their season like a cat with a big appetite for birds. The Eagles did everything they could to be an accommodating guest in Riverfront Stadium. They dropped passes, they stood off sides, they fumbled. In fact, they made every conceivable mistake at least once. And when the Eagles forgot to help the Bengals helped themselves. Number 74, Mike Reed, was the quick and constant companion of the Eagle quarterback all afternoon. Pressure by the Cincinnati 4 forced 3 Pete Lisk interceptions. This one by number 29, Sandy Durko. The last feather on the Eagles' carcass was picked off by an unheralded rookie, number 23, Ike Coleman. Meanwhile, the Bengals were attacking the Eagles' linebackers. Number 19, Essex Johnson, turned this classic Paul Brown pitch and go into a lesson in legwork 68 yards long. The Bengals quarterback, Virgil Carter, ventilated the Philadelphia zone with 8 strikes to hot-fingered little Eric Crabtree. Overall, Carter threw 22 completions in 30 tries for 273 yards and 3 touchdowns. This one to number 30, Jess Phillips. Fear of the Cincinnati sweep set up the game breaker, a 25-yard pass by Virgil Carter and a 65-yard gallop by Speedy Thomas. As one pundit put it, the Eagles look more like turkeys. And Cincinnati celebrated Thanksgiving early. Score 37-14.
In the second game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Bengals continue their outstanding defensive play as number 20, Lamar Parrish's theft, put Cincinnati on the board early. But in this game, the Bengals' razzle-dazzle offense was rarely heard from. Despite another fine performance by Verge Carter, the Bengals managed only 28 yards rushing, and the Steelers derailed the Orange and White Express 21-10. The loss snapped an 8-game regular season win streak for Cincinnati, and the Bengals began a downhill slide that would not end until 2 months later.
In Pittsburgh, the young and tough Steelers hosted the young and tough Cincinnati Bengals to see who was the toughest and who was most likely to come of age in 1971. Defense keynoted the first half, and the Bengals' big cat, number 74, Mike Reed, led the charge for Cincinnati. Number 11, quarterback Virgil Carter, opened up only once on this 46-yard play to Speedy Thomas. But the attack failed. And although Horst Muhlmann's 33-yard field goal put the Bengals on the board first, these were the only points Cincinnati's offense could muster. Losing to the Chicago Bears last week on 2 late fumbles, Pittsburgh appeared willing to give away another game when Lamar Parrish stole the ball from Preston Pearson and carried it in for a score.
In the third game against Green Bay, the Bengal offense was again sluggish, and the Pack jumped to a quick 10-0 lead. It was up to the Bengal defense to get Cincinnati back in the game, and number 20, Lamar Parrish, led the charge with a 65-yard interception. But the game against the Packers was a costly one. Not only did they lose the game, they lost their quarterback. Verge Carter suffered a dislocated shoulder, and the burden now fell on the inexperienced shoulders of rookie Ken Anderson, number 14. The rookie was up to the test. Anderson led the Bengals on a 69-yard scoring drive that was climaxed by a touchdown pass to Eric Crabtree to put the Bengals within 3 points, but they would get no further and lost 20-17. The defeat hurt, but the loss of safety Ken Dyer and quarterback Verge Carter hurt even more.
In Green Bay, it was rookie head coach Dan Devine against legendary Paul Brown as the Packers met the Cincinnati Bengals. Devine has already discovered how tough life in the NFL can be. Anderson replaced injured Virgil Carter at quarterback, and the rookie's 44-yard shot to Bob Trumpy set up Cincinnati's first score, a Horst Muhlmann field goal. The Bengals were expected to be a power in pro football this year, but after an opening day victory, Cincinnati has failed to win another game. Despite their problems, one Bengal performer who's remained consistent is number 20 cornerback Lamar Parrish. His 65-yard interception knotted the score at 10-10. Cincinnati coach Paul Brown had hoped to bring number 14, Ken Anderson, along slowly, but Carter's injury forced Anderson to take over at quarterback. The rookie responded by bringing the Bengals within 3 points of Green Bay, but the Pack countered with a rookie quarterback of their own, number 16, Scott Hunter of Alabama.
Carter had been the leader of the Bengal offense, an on-the-field projection of the Paul Brown philosophy. An elusive runner and pinpoint passer, Carter was on his way to his finest season when the injury struck. But now Carter was gone, and in his place was Ken Anderson, a raw rookie from tiny Augustana College. Anderson got his first start against the Miami Dolphins and showed he had no fear of the big time as he pumped the touchdown pass to Bob Trumpy, number 84. But this touchdown and a pair of Horst Muhlmann field goals were all the Cincinnati scoring. A rash of Bengal mistakes and the bombing of Miami's Bob Greasy resulted in a third straight defeat. And the 23-13 loss came at the hands of Don Shula, a former player under Paul Brown.
After 2 straight losses, the Tiger has lost some of its teeth, but none of its desire, as Papa Bingo Paul Brown danced out to meet Don Shula and his Miami Dolphins. 2 weeks ago, Brown lost his #1 quarterback, Virgil Carter. So now he faced Miami with the untested rookie Ken Anderson from Augustana College. Against the Dolphins, Cincinnati rushed for over 200 yards, but most of that came between the 30-yard lines. Only once did Anderson pierce the Miami goal, and it came on a strike to his tall and talented tight end, Bob Trumpy. The well-schooled Bengal defense, led by Ken Riley, were not awed by the dangerous combination of Bob Greasy to Paul Warfield.
In the season's 5th game, Cincinnati met the Cleveland Browns to decide the championship of Ohio, and the Bengals played one of the finest games in their history. Rookie Ken Anderson was passing like a wily veteran, and veterans like number 30, Jess Phillips, were running with the speed and vitality of rookies. Since the birth of the Bengals, Jess Phillips has been one of the key performers, and his effort is worth 5 from any Bengal fan. Another mainstay in the Bengals' history has been Paul Robinson, number 18, and against Cleveland, the Cactus Comet ran with the flashing strides that brought him a rushing title in his rookie year. In this game, the Bengals opened all the gates, and out came number 19, Essex Johnson, who would become Mr. Big Play for Cincinnati. Johnson scored twice against the Browns, once on a 3-yard run, and again on an amazing 49-yard jaunt through the Cleveland defense. Johnson's score put the Bengals on top, 24-13, but then an all-too-familiar trend appeared once more. Again, the Bengals had completely outplayed an opponent, only to be cut down by mistakes and bad breaks. Cleveland took advantage of the errors, and 2 Bo Scott touchdowns gave the Browns a slim 27-24 victory. In Oakland against the powerful Raiders, the hard luck trend continued. Once again, Essex Johnson's freewheeling strides put points on the scoreboard. Again, rookie Ken Anderson displayed the poise of an all-pro despite a painful bruised hip. While the Bengals pinned their hopes on a raw 22-year-old rookie, the Raiders rode a 44-year-old arm to victory. Number 16, George Blanda, led a come-from-behind Raider effort that left Cincinnati with defeat number 5. And the Bengals' losing streak would stretch to 7, with losses to Houston and Atlanta.
But in the second half, it was the Bengal that roared as Kenny Anderson flipped to Essex Johnson, who blazed in to make the score 17-7. Darryl LaMonica fell prey to the Bengals' prowling defense as number 53, Bill Peterson, intercepted. Then Kenny Anderson made it a new ball game as he rolled right to tie the score at 17-all. To make matters worse, Oakland's Darryl LaMonica was forced to leave the game with an injury. Came back to hit Speedy Thomas to make it 27-24 Bengals. Years nor the seconds affected George Blanda as he handed off to Marv Hubbard and led Oakland to their 5th victory in a row, 31-27.
The roar of the Bengal had gone silent. Defeat had left its painful mark. A season filled with high hopes had suddenly become a nightmare. The Bengals had often played well, but when a team falls beneath a losing hex, nothing seems to go right. Passes are dropped, kickoffs are fumbled, and the players begin to fight themselves as well as their opponents. For the Bengals, it had often been a matter of inches or seconds or points, but nothing can ease the pain of losing.
In Houston, it was definitely not a day for quarterbacks. First, Houston rookie Dan Pastorini was intercepted twice by second-year Bengal cornerback Lamar Parrish, number 20. Next, Pastorini was intercepted twice by the other Bengal cornerback, Ken Riley, number 13. The 4 interceptions gave Cincinnati's rookie quarterback Ken Anderson good field position, but it didn't help. 9 times the Bengal passer was dumped, a statistic which led to an even more impressive statistic. The Bengals' total passing offense of minus 52 yards. When punter quarterback Dave Lewis replaced Anderson, the results were the same, more minus yardage. All told, it had to be Cincinnati's most frustrating of their 6 consecutive losses because they never even got close to a touchdown. Appropriately, the game's only touchdown was scored by the Oiler defense when safety Ken Houston stole an Anderson pass and slick-stepped 48 yards to the end zone. For the Oilers, Houston's run meant a 10-6 margin of victory, their first of the season. The poor Bengal Tiger. After 6 consecutive defeats, things were bad enough. But last Sunday brought a new way for Cincinnati to lose. Norm Van Brocklin's Falcons were in town, and with the Dutchman himself calling the plays, and with Dick Shiner again shining at quarterback, the Falcons marched down the field on their first possession. 47 yards were consumed on this catch and run by Harmon Wages. Shiner passed to tight end Jim Mitchell, and the Falcons had what appeared to be an easy 7-0 lead. But a motion penalty nullified the score, and Atlanta's offense then folded up until the game was almost over. Meanwhile, quarterback returnee Virgil Carter could not spark the Bengal offense back to life. Carter's most effective play was to hold the ball for Horst Muhlmann, who booted 2 field goals, one from 51 yards, and again he accounted for all the Cincinnati scoring. The Cincinnati defense protected a 6-3 lead with a 4th quarter goal line stand. But unlike last year, Virgil Carter and week number 8 were not magic for the Bengals. With only 66 seconds to play, Dick Shiner passed over the middle to fullback Art Malone. The great effort by Art Malone, the former wrestling champion from Arizona State, had sent the Bengals to their 7th straight loss, while giving the Falcons their 3rd straight win and a tie for second with the Rams in the NFC West.
Injuries had particularly ravaged the quarterback position, but against Denver, Bengal fans rolled out the welcome mat for Burge Carter, returning to action for the first time. Carter's presence added instant excitement to the Cincinnati attack as he combined with number 88, Bruce Coslett, on a 71-yard scoring play. The big play was back in the Cincinnati attack, and everyone sensed that the Bengals were back in winning form. Rookies like number 33, Fred Willis, had been making important contributions, and now the results began to show. Willis and Doug Dressler had become the Bengals' big backs who supplied the power, and Essex Johnson, number 19, was the speed burner who came off the bench to light the fire of victory. The 24-10 victory snapped a 7-game losing streak and brought to mind 1970, when the Bengals lost 6 straight, only to rebound and win a division title. Although they had a 2-7 record, the Bengals were, incredibly, still within 2 games of the division leaders, Cleveland and Pittsburgh.
Virgil Carter's return to form at quarterback for Cincinnati was definitely bad news for Denver. In one third-quarter sequence, he blended freelancing with smooth precision plays involving his running backs Essex Johnson, number 19, and Doug Dressler, number 44. Although this series ended in a field goal because Denver can still play defense, it served as a perfect complement for a Virgil Carter trademark, the spectacular. 2 years ago, the flea flicker play worked against Denver for a touchdown. Last Sunday, it worked again for 71 yards to Bruce Coslett, number 88. The Bengals looked surprisingly healthy for a team that had lost 7 straight. And in the second quarter, the running of number 33, Fred Willis, led them to another touchdown. The Broncos continue to be beset by adversity. Quarterback Don Horn is lost for the season with a shoulder injury, so the burden carried by running back Floyd Little, number 44, is now intensified. But the Broncos did rally. A pass from reserve quarterback Steve Ramsey to Dwight Harrison narrowed the score to 17-10, and momentum was clearly shifting. However, Essex Johnson turned a routine circle pattern into a 64-yard shocker, and the Bengals nailed down victory number 2 over the very tough but very discouraged Broncos, 24-10.
Against Houston, Cincinnati unleashed all the frustration of a previous loss to the Oilers as the Bengals pumped the oil well dry. While the defense left the Oilers scattered all over the field, The Cincinnati offense was a smooth-running, ground-eating, first-down machine. Number 33, rookie Fred Willis, again ran with all the subtlety of a battering ram as he hammered over for 2 scores. And Carter smoked the Oilers out of the park with passing to receivers like Chip Myers and Bruce Coslett. And another touchdown by Bob Trumpy, number 84, gave the Bengals their 2nd victory in a row. With the 28-13 win, Cincinnati was hitting full stride.
In Cincinnati last week, everything was cheery. The Bengals were winning again, and visions of last season's stretch run were dancing in the heads of the Cincinnati faithful. Just 3 weeks before, the Houston Oilers had won their only game of the season against the Bengals, and now it was Cincinnati's chance for revenge. Houston quarterback Dan Pastorini and tight end Alvin Reed soon found out. Rookie quarterbacks are usually prone to interceptions. Last week, Dante Pastorini served up his 17th of the season to number 29 safety man Sandy Durko. The Bengal defense held Houston to 2 harmless field goals until late in the 4th quarter, when old number 12 Charlie Johnson cut loose for Charlie Joyner. Joyner's 56-yard score did not hurt the Bengals because Virgil Carter had already won the game for Cincinnati. On the Bengals' first series, Carter hit former tight end, now wide receiver, Bob Trumpy to set up the game's first score. Rookie runner Fred Willis from Boston College, making his first pro start, somersaulted in from the 1 and went on to become the Bengal workhorse. 26 carries, 87 yards, and a 2nd Cincinnati touchdown. Virgil Carter led the Bengals to touchdown 3 of the first 4 times they had the ball. Another came on a rollout and flip to tight end Bruce Coslett. The Cincinnati fans approved of revitalized Virgil, who connected on 12 of 15 passes, including 1 more touchdown, this time to Bob Trumpy, as the resurgent Bengals barreled past the Oilers 28-13 and remained just 2 games out of first in the AFC Central.
They were eaten alive. Against the Chargers, Cincinnati staged one of their finest offensive shows as they set 6 club records. Fred Willis continued his impressive running by slamming over for 2 touchdowns. While Willis paced the ground game, Carter led a supercharged passing attack. The Bengal offense was a study in precision, a blackboard diagram that had come to life. While the offense was overwhelming, the defense was equally devastating as they recorded their first shutout in Bengal history. Number 58 linebacker Al Beauchamp was a defensive terror as he picked off 2 San Diego passes, 1 for a touchdown that highlighted victory number 4. The Bengals had now won 3 straight, and they had rekindled the optimism that marked the opening of the season. And a key to the team's success had been the savage play of the defense.
It was a lean year for Bengal fans until 3 weeks ago, but through it all, they kept smiling. The cause of their problem has been the quarterback position, where they've tried everything and been thwarted by injuries. But when they said hello again to a healthy Virgil Carter, The Cincinnati season turned around and the Bengals once again became the Tigers of old. And the Chargers paid early as Carter's first drives of the day led to a 21-0 Bengal lead. If it wasn't Carter to number 84 Bob Trumpy, it was running back Fred Willis, number 33, up the middle and through a hole that made you want to go forever. But the real heroes of the day were the Bengals defenders, who led the way in a 31-0 conquest, which was the first Bengals shutout in history. Six times they picked off San Diego passes. Number 58, Al Beauchamp, came up with two and a pretty good spike to boot. It was only fitting that the defense capped their success with a score as Beauchamp put it all together. Good theft, good run, and a great spike. It made one think of last year when Cincinnati won their division after losing 6 straight. Can they do it again? If you happen to be an Elephant, a Bengal fan, or both, you'll never forget how.
The Bengals were riding a 3-game victory wave, but in Cleveland, Paul Brown's hopes were shattered. Despite a 4-7 record, Cincinnati still had a shot at the Central Division title, and Bengal runners like number 33, Fred Willis, and number 44, Doug Dressler, romped all over the Browns. While Willis and Dressler wore down the Browns with sheer power, number 19, Essex Johnson, dazzled them with his assortment of swivel-hip moves. With guard Pat Matson leading the way, Fred Willis dove into the end zone for another touchdown, and Essex Johnson took off on an 86-yard touchdown jaunt. Several times it looked like the Bengals had the game won, but this game summed up all the frustrations of a strange season. Time and time again, the Bengals out-hustled and out-muscled an opponent, only to see victory slip through their hands in what seemed like a nightmare. For the second time, Cleveland escaped with a narrow victory. The 31-27 Bengal loss was followed by defeats at the hands of the Pittsburgh Steelers and New York Jets, and finally the long season was over.
Last week in Cleveland, the first division title of 1971 was won. It was captured by Nick Skorich's Browns, a team that has been either very brilliant or very bad. The key to this phenomenon is their courageous quarterback, Bill Nelson. The man with the surgical knees has led his team to several big victories, but he also was there when the Browns lost 4 straight for the first time in their history. At one point this year, Paul Brown's Bengals lost 7 straight games, but the Bengals take pride in finishing strong. Like their opponents, the key for Cincinnati is found at quarterback, where injuries have taken a heavy toll. It got so Paul Brown asked for volunteers for the position. Indeed, in one game, his punter, Dave Lewis, led the team. The critical injury came 2 years ago when promising Greg Cook went out, perhaps never to return. Virgil Carter, his replacement, missed several games this year, and his backup, rookie Ken Anderson, has also been injured. But going into this game, the Bengals have won 3 straight, and amazingly, we're only 2 games behind the Browns. Their defense has been magnificent, giving up merely 7 points per game in the 3 victories. But on this gray day in Cleveland, the Browns would be the Bengals' biggest test. At stake were many things. There's the pride of Paul Brown in sending his young club against the team that bears his name. There's the championship of Ohio, for the Browns won the first game in Cincinnati. And certainly not the least important, at stake today is the crown in the AFC's Central Division. I'm Bob Delaney, and this is the NFL Game of the Week. The Browns kicked off for the second time in a minute and a half, and this time the deep man was Paul Robinson. Watch Robinson closely, for the man who gained over 1,000 yards in his rookie season is now a bench warmer in Cincinnati. His return had Cincinnati in good field position that was quickly improved upon by Fred Willis, one of the reasons that Robinson hasn't been playing. A look at Willis's run in slow motion shows a fine block on the outside linebacker by number 44, Doug Dressler, the Bengals' other setback. This series set the tone for the game, as both teams behind crisp blocking would run the ball at each other all day long. The Bengals settled for 3 points on this series, but on the next one, again led by the running of Willis, they went the length of the field. Key play was a third down pass by Carter. Note the Bengals' fine blocking holds true on passes also, as Carter threw to Bob Trumpy, the largest wide receiver in the game. The 6'6" former tight end made a first down. After the pass to Trumpy, Carter stayed on the ground until confronted with another possession play at the Browns' 13. Here, he faked to Willis, then flipped to Dressler, who snuck into the flat alone. He was forced out at the 4, but on the next play, bulled his way in for the touchdown that put Cincinnati ahead 10-7. The Bengals had showed considerable poise in rallying from behind. On Cleveland's next series, Bill Nelson was pressured by Steve Chomazak, threw on the run, and had the ball deflected to Al Beauchamp. Now the breaks in the game were even, but the score was soon to be even more one-sided. On the second play of the second period, Carter had time to wait for Trumpy to come open across the middle, and only a great save by Ben Davis stopped him from scoring. But Davis's tackle only prolonged the inevitable as Fred Willis swept around the Browns' left flank for the touchdown. On the repeat, we can see an example of Cincinnati's devastating blocking. Number 73, Pat Matson, leveled the cornerback. Then Willis just sailed over number 34 safety Mike Howell into the end zone. The Bengals had obliterated Cleveland's early lead and now led themselves 17-7. The score was a testament to Cincinnati's fine running attack. Where in the early years it consisted of Paul Robinson and Jess Phillips, now added to them are Essex Johnson and youngsters Doug Dressler and Fred Willis. This fivesome gives Cincinnati incredible depth at the vital running back position. For most of the second quarter, neither team could do much with the ball, although Leroy Kelly had his moments. 7 consecutive series ended in punts or turnovers, with neither Cleveland or Cincinnati putting any more points on the board. And the few times the ball was put in the air, something always happened to thwart a game. Once on their own goal line, Cincinnati almost suffered a costly turnover. Cleveland kept their opponent's running game in check and defensed well Carter's outlet passes to his backs, which had worked so well in the first period. With time running out in the half, Nelson completed a pass to Frank Pitts, who paid for it. Cleveland was desperate to get on the board once more before the half ended, and to do it, they would have to throw the ball. Unfortunately, Nelson was pressured again by the hard-rushing Bengal line and forced to do something he does not do well, throw on the run. The result was another interception by Al Beauchamp, the second game in a row that the linebacker has stolen 2 passes. Beauchamp's theft, with little over a minute remaining, seemed to spark Cincinnati, and for the first time in 13 minutes, they moved the ball deep into Cleveland territory. But Cleveland now is playing good defense, and even a tricky double reverse didn't fool them, as Ben Davis covered well. Cincinnati settled for another Horst Muhlmann field goal. As the Bengals' lead rose to 20-7, Abraham watched in disgust on the sidelines. Essex Johnson ran the counter play to perfection. He popped through a huge hole, then outraced everyone, and in one loud cannon shot, Essex Johnson had put the Bengals back on top. It was nothing new for Johnson. He had electrified the NFL all year with his dazzling runs, and this one was the league's longest of the year. Johnson didn't start and carried only 4 times today, but gained 109 yards, and his 86-yard burst put the Bengals ahead 27-21 with 12 seconds gone in the final period.
Bengals are healthy, they are tough. And oft-injured Mike Reed, number 74, is one of the toughest. This jarring tackle caused a shoulder separation for Terry Hanratty and provided the fire for a Bengal comeback. Quarterback Virgil Carter paired up with rugged tight end Bruce Coslett, number 88, to lead Cincinnati to their first touchdown. A Carter scramble, a short toss, and an all-out effort by Coslett knotted the score at 7. One of the most consistent Bengal performers has been number 20, Lamar Parrish, whose dodging, weaving run set up one of 2 Horst Muhlmann field goals that put Cincinnati on top, 13-7. But then number 12, Terry Bradshaw, entered the game and led a fourth-quarter Steeler charge. For the Steelers, the 21-13 win clinched second place behind Cleveland in the AFC Central. But for the hard-luck Bengals, it was just one more loss in a difficult season. One pass from the Bengals' Virgil Carter to number 25, Chip Myers, gave Cincinnati an early lead. But for the most part, it was a long day for Bengal quarterbacks.
In 1972, Cincinnati fans will again pack Riverfront Stadium to witness another exciting chapter in the legend of the Cincinnati Bengals.